much. All right, coming up, when a tickle fight with your kids can actually become a powerful teaching moment. The building blocks of sexual health. Next on Studio 5. Welcome back to Studio 5. You know, we joke about the birds and the bees talk, that parenting rite of passage. And by now we know, hopefully, it shouldn't be a one-and-done conversation. But are you stacking up the building blocks of sexual health often, even daily? My next guest says when it comes to kids and sexual health, most parents could afford to do just a little bit better. Kristin Hodson is a therapist and owner of the Healing Group. She is making waves, paving ground on Instagram with her openness toward the topic of kids and sexual health, among other things. We're so grateful that you're here to address
Thank
this.
you.
And it's one that parents, as you know, as I know and experience, can get a little uncomfortable with. We know we're supposed to be leaning into this and being more open. Sometimes the words are a struggle to find. There are numbers, though, to back this up that prove the case we could step up our game.
Yeah, so the number that I go off of is, on average, kids in the U.S. are getting 17.2 hours of sexual health information. That's like an hour a year. So imagine if our kids were getting 1 hour of reading or 1 hour of math a year, we would never expect them to be literate or competent to do either of those skills. And so sexual health needs to be an ongoing drip system. And it's not just talking about reproduction. Like when we break it down and look at all that encompasses sexual health, there's probably a lot of topics that parents are like, oh, I can talk about that. That's not saying any of the words that make me feel uncomfortable. And that's what I want to help empower parents, is to realize, oh, I can already do some of these things. I just didn't realize it was supporting their sexual health.
Let's start with that vocabulary.
Yeah.
You've been teaching us for years that we should use the proper terms. People still struggle to understand why that's so important. Like, I can call a head a noggin and not really diminish the capacity of the brain. So how does it translate to call these parts what they really are scientifically named?
If we're one of the things is, research does show that when our kids know the correct terminology, then it can prevent abuse because they know parents are talking to them. They know someone in their life is talking to them. It also can allow us to teach privacy without shame. There's a lot of things that if our kids need to communicate something about their bodies, specifically their genitals, if they are not using the correct terms, it can end up being problematic.
So it promotes an openness. All right, I'm going to tell you my vagina story after this, because I took your advice and I think it backfired on me, but we're still pushing forward. All right, advice tip number 2, model and teach consent.
Yes, and this is really big, and the reason why is if we are sending mixed messages around consent, as our kids get older, it is going to be confusing that they're going to be like, I feel like I owe this person this, they took me out on a date, they gave me a gift, I should give them a kiss. And so it can get really tricky around holiday times or when we see relatives, but specifically tickling. Like, I like to use tickling in families.
Okay.
My daughter in particular would be like, no, don't tickle me. And we've had to be like, okay, in our family, no means no, stop means stop. So if you want me to tickle, then say, oh, keep tickling me. But if you say no, I'm not going to keep tickling you.
An appropriate kid-friendly way to teach that big concept, right?
Right at their level. And it's really in an everyday way. We're all doing the tickling.
I love it. You want us to practice for high-pressure situations. Like what?
Yeah. So athletes are constantly preparing for high-pressure situations. And oftentimes we want our kids to uphold the values that we're teaching in our home, but we're not giving them the skills. And when you think about high pressure social situations, like out on a date, or I have a lot of teenagers say, I was surprised to walk in to a scene of inappropriate content and I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know what to do. So having an out for your family, a code word that you text and a parent initiates a call and said, you need to come home because they know something's going on. Or role playing, like at school, here's what you would do if you see something or there's a challenging situation, role playing that so they practice it. So when the high pressure comes, they've already tried it on. They've heard themselves say the words and they've tried the skills on.
I love that. A minute left. You want us to teach those on-the-ground skills about what makes a good friend, to build healthy relationships, and you also want us to define pornography so kids know what they're seeing and what that is.
2 things that are important. Healthy friendships are the base of long-term healthy relationships. So if we can teach what is a healthy friendship, then that will build. And then pornography, we'll oftentimes assume that our kids know that. You need a very simple working definition that you can grow and evolve as your kids get older so they can have more nuance to it, because it can get more complex. It can turn from pornography to sexually explicit media. If we start small with a basic definition of pornography in our home is pictures of naked people you can build on that and keep adding to that as they age.
So helpful. You give us the words and you help give us the context too in a relatable way. So where can we get more advice from you, Kristin?
You can follow me at Kristin B. Hodson on Instagram.
All right, brace yourself. A laugh is coming. Story to ensue. We'll link you over to Kristin's platform from our website too, studio5.ksl.com, and we'll be right back. So she noticed